Hi there, and welcome to the Mani Kamra podcast. In this conversation, we talked about learning, we talked about education, we talked about travel, we shared our personal traveling stories, and this conversation was very nostalgic for me and a very insightful one as well. If you think this podcast adds value to your life, please follow me on my Instagram. And if you have any feedback or any queries, if you have any guest suggestion, please send me a message on Instagram, or you can reach out to me on info@manikamra.com. So let's get right to today's conversation. Chirag, thank you so much for being on the Mani Kamra podcast. How are you, brother?
Hey Mike, I'm doing pretty well. It's a beautiful Saturday morning, and yeah, let's see how this podcast goes. I'm really excited for it.
I'm very excited for that as well. So I know you're back in India. So how is the transition? Because you were in Philippines, right? And because I know you travel a lot, so how was your COVID period, and how did you cope up with not traveling for some time?
It's been going good. So I came back to India back in May 2020 in one of the
Mm-hmm.
flights that Government of India launched,
Okay.
and it was pretty exciting. And after
Mm-hmm.
finishing my contract, I was not doing anything for 2.5 months. So it was a very chill period of me for me where I was able to reflect and everything. And then after I came back, I mean, I have not been going anywhere. It's been around 10 odd days since I have been out of my home, and I'm actually enjoying staying at home because it's a lot of time that I'm back with my family and just to stay with them, just to be with them and having those dinners and lunches and
Mm-hmm.
all the things that we can do together. It's pretty exciting, and I have honestly been enjoying. If you'll ask me, I would like to continue this kind of work or environment or of not doing anything or not going anywhere out for a couple of months more. And yeah, of course, we have the whole life to travel now, and
Right.
I mean, what won't come again is this time that we have with our family and our loved ones.
For me as well, I think I've been back home after almost 5 6 years, and now, but again, I have moved out away from my parents. But the time that I stayed at my
Mhm.
home, it was very like for me rekindling and reconnecting with my family and knowing them better, because when I moved out I was what 16. I was 16 when I moved out, and then I was not very mature. But now, because I
Nice.
understand more about relationships and like values भी थोड़ी ज़्यादा उभर कर आती है, as in, like I know more about my values and I know how to maintain a good
Yeah.
relationship. And I also try to make the most out of any lunch, breakfast, dinner that I've had with my family during those days. So I think it's been a very redefining moment for me. And on that note, about while talking about 2020, Chirag, I want to ask, because I believe 2020 has taught all of us that having one particular skill, or having like just being in one field of work may not be sustainable, because anything can happen. Like COVID happened, and a lot of people lost their jobs, and there were a lot of industries that shut down. For example, the hospitality industry, it was affected a lot because of COVID, right? So
Yeah.
what do you think? And I think it's a very pivotal point for a lot of people to come to this realization that they need more skills in their life. So I want to ask you, Chirag, like how has 2020 shifted the paradigm of reskilling and upskilling people and developing new skills?
As I
Mm-hmm.
say, and as I reflecting back on 2020, I mean, this has been a year where each and every person in the world was facing their own challenges. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
be it with getting affected with COVID directly, be it one of your loved ones getting affected with COVID, be it
Right.
you losing your job, or be it you merely working from home, or be it uh, a frontline worker who is working directly. even no
Mm.
one else is working around you,
Yes,
and you
yes,
have to
yes.
motivate yourself to get out of your bed and go out and serve for the community that you are living in. So this has been a pivotal point, but most of all, it has been a pivotal point for the people who have lost their job or who had to shift their job to a point that it was pretty challenging for them. I'll share an example with you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Airlines and travel and tourism was all stopped, and all the
Yes.
pilots who were there, they were not able to go and fly a plane anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know a bit about the pilots and the flying aviation industry,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they have to complete particular number of hours to ensure that they are fit for flying. And now, if you will see, like now gradually, when airlines are starting, you
Okay.
see that pilots are finding it pretty difficult to uh, get back into that zone of flying. I mean, the recent incident, if you have seen with in Indonesia, that plane crash. I mean, some experts are suspecting that this might be because pilots were out of their on how to fly a plane, or they were out of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Right.
most of the pilots, they tried to brush up their skills through flight simulators and all these technical advances that are there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but some of the pilots, because even the airline and aviation industry had to take a major hit, they were all in debt and they had to close down the airlines. They had to pivot what they were doing earlier to something new right now. uh,
Right.
for example, I have been reading these stories on LinkedIn where a person who has been a successful pilot for a lot of years has is working as a barrister right now, and
Oh.
I mean it's very fulfilling for them working as a barrister right now. But still, they have this particular skill in which they have been working for 20 plus years, but now they have to completely pivot to a new skill or a new job or new occupation. So everyone has taken it their own way, I would say. And for some people, it has been easy if you are an expert in flying a plane and then you become a teacher or something. But for some people, it has been difficult who had to pivot their entire career because they were not able to get a particular job. And if I tell you about some months in 2020, I mean, it had been pretty difficult to find a job as well during that
Yeah.
time.
Right.
All of the people had just waited out that period that it was difficult to find a job. And after that period was gone, they had to get on with anything that they were able to get. I mean, in that period, for some people, they actually tried to find out that what is it that they really like, and
Mm-hmm.
they started to work towards that. And if you'll see, I mean, I was reading about this a couple of days back that this might be the new renaissance that might be coming up, or the
Mm-hmm.
new the new boom 20s that were there earlier in 1920s, that this might be the new one that might be coming up because of all the reskilling and upskilling that has happened in the past couple of months or the past year, and that will happen in the coming years as well.
A lot of people like completely shifted their industries. I know someone who used to work in Maldives in hospitality industry, and he used
Hmm.
to like his clients are Bill Gates and Cristiano Ronaldo and all of these people, like high end clients. And then because he
Yeah.
got laid off from Maldives, and he had to, so he's from Goa, he had to come back. He didn't get a job in the hospitality industry because like his pay scale and everything was very high, and a lot, like most of the hotels could not afford him. So right now he's a fitness trainer. And like it was
Hmm.
very, like I
Nice.
was very amazed that he completely shifted his industries. But then he also found, like as he says, that he found his passion in fitness, and now he aspires to transform people. But then that was, I was very amazed by that. And you talked about how a lot of people got laid off, and a lot of anxiety and everything came with it. And during the lockdown, we see we saw an uprise of a lot of like these certifications from Coursera or Udemy and everything. But Chirag, what I'm concerned with this, key a lot of people acquired various skills. Like they started, someone started Python, and then someone started another
Yeah,
coding language. Someone started, let's say, something for like product marketing. But then what I saw, people did not stay in it. Okay, as in they started something and then they saw what goes into it, and they just left, which I think is okay. Like you have to explore and
yeah,
everything, but people did not stay. And I think if you really want to develop a skill, you need to learn the art or the skill of staying at something, right? So what do you think about it? What do you think about these things, that people starting a lot of various courses on these like digital platforms, and then just not staying at them, like not implementing them into their life, and just seeing what's there in it, and just leaving it there. What do you think about that?
definitely. That's an interesting observation. First of all, I would say that a lot of people, it has been the golden period of their time where they were actually
Mm-hmm.
able to pursue their hobby or something that they like, and actually able to work on that. Like, for example, the person you were mentioning about working in the hospitality industry and then
Mm-hmm.
becoming a fitness trainer. I mean, this must have been their hobby or passion or something at the back of their mind for quite
True,
long, but
true.
probably they didn't find the courage or the time to pursue it, and finally they were able to do it because probably they were bound by the job that they had because they had these big clients and they didn't want to give up,
Mm-hmm.
and now they finally had the courage to do that. So that is, first of all, I would say, a good thing that happened to a lot of people. But for example, a lot of people, they wanted to pursue something but they didn't continue, and I would
Mm-hmm.
say that's completely fine. I want to share my example. I wanted to do coding for a lot of time, and
Okay.
I come from an engineering background, and I did coding in my high school as well, in
Mm-hmm.
C and C++. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to pursue it further and wanted to do more coding and learn more about it. But now when I started doing it, so I took a course on Udacity about AWS, and
Okay.
had to learn HTML and JavaScript for it. So
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing it, I I mean, after 2 or 3 lessons, I realized this thing is not for me. I don't enjoy
Mm.
doing coding anymore.
Right.
And instead of going further with it or investing my time further on it, I would rather learn something that's more interesting to me, or that is more on something that I enjoy doing. I mean, life is very short, and we have to only do things that we enjoy. And there are a lot of things that you can try, and you should honestly try everything to find out what you enjoy doing and you don't
Mm-hmm.
enjoy doing, and that you will only find out after doing it. If
Mm.
you don't enjoy doing it, then definitely there is no point in investing more time. And I mean, I won't suggest to stay on it and just complete it. But instead of just giving up, what would be helpful is you move on to something else that you rather enjoy doing, or something that you have been thinking about for a lot of time, but
True.
you were not able to pursue it. I mean, if you are not able to do coding, so taking my example again, when I was not able to do that coding course on Udacity, I moved
Mm-hmm.
on to a project management course that I found on LinkedIn Learning. It was a complete learning path of 10, 11 courses, and
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. Though the courses were long and everything, there were like 1 hour lessons and all these things, but I really, really enjoyed doing it because it was something that connected more to me. That was about leading a project, that was about leading the team, that was about how to manage the stakeholders, how to manage your team, and all these things, because that is something that connected more to me and I wanted to stay in it. So I would say, I mean, it will come to you. If you are
Mm-hmm.
enjoying that course, or you are enjoying that learning period, or if you are enjoying that thing that you're studying,
Mm-hmm.
then definitely it will give you that motivation to study more of it and refer to more of like journals and books and blogs and following people who are more into it and following the
Mm-hmm.
experts, reaching out to them, and to upskill yourself. And after 1 or 2 months, if you realize that this is not for you, I would say, I mean, 1 or 2 months is an enough period to know that if something is meant for you or not. Then it's okay if you leave and move on to the next thing or something
Right.
that you enjoy more. So that is completely fine. The What matters is you keep on constantly learning
Mm-hmm.
and keep on developing yourself, because the world is changing rapidly. I mean, technology is changing like in a split second now. I mean, 10
Yeah.
years ago, no one has had smartphones, and now everyone has it. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to keep on updating yourself and moving forward with the new things that are coming up.
I really like your perspective on this because I also had this phase where I started various things. Like I also started coding. I learned how to set up an e-commerce store via Shopify.
Yeah,
I started to learn product marketing and everything. And you talked about project management, the learning path that you did. And Chirag, I know for a fact that because we have been doing this together now, you're volunteering right now in for project management to, and I'm assuming like obviously there's a volunteer side to it, and I'll talk about this later. But then because
yep,
you have chosen to be like a project manager there, right? So I see that you gain the skill again, the theoretical learning and then the experiential learning part, right? And then a lot of people try to, like, I see a lot of people who are into the theoretical part only and not getting a chance to implement what they learned, right? But my opinion on this is, and I know, like, you need theoretical learnings and everything, but I'm very in for the experiential learning part of this. Ki even if you don't have a skill, start, like get an internship or something and start, like, learn on the job, learn while you do. Even when I started this podcast, I had no
definitely.
idea. I had no idea ki, like, I did not even know how to set a mic. Chirag, if you would listen first 2-3 episodes of my podcast, they don't have a very good audio quality because मुझे set नहीं करना आता था mic कैसे set करना और how to distribute your podcast, all these things. And I thought कि हाँ ठीक है, let's buy a mic and then figure out while we are on the job. So what's your take on this? Like, do you find a balance between the theoretical learning and the experiential learning, or like, what's your stand on this?
I mean, definitely, it's a huge yes from my side on experiential learning. I want to quote Richard Branson here, who said, if you are given an opportunity, then say yes. Even if you don't know, then learn while doing it. I mean,
Hmm.
this is not the
That has
exact
also
quote, but
inspired me.
this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
how,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah, but this is how, this is what the message is basically. And I am all in for experiential learning. If you ask me, like, there are a lot of experiences in my life as well where I didn't know how to do anything. I come from an engineering background, but then I moved on to
Mhm.
communications and marketing. I didn't know about it. And then
Okay.
I learned on the job because of the mentors that I had, because of the skills that are there, and because of the supportive people that I had, because that matters a lot, I would say. I am all in for theoretical learning as well. If you want to really get into something, I mean,
Mhm.
experiential learning is not going to be enough. You have to get onto the
Mm.
theoretical part as
Right.
well. Probably, if not now, then probably 6 months down the line or 1 year down the line, just to get a deeper knowledge of what you are doing, and just to know how to be an expert on the thing that you're doing, or how to be good at what you're doing. I would say you won't be a master golfer unless you are just swinging, going out and swinging your shots, and you are not studying about like what is the best technique on what hole that you have consider, or what is the best golf club that you have to choose for what kind of shot. I mean,
Mm.
these are the things that you will only learn when you are studying about it, or when you are talking to people about it, and when you have invested enough hours in it. So these are the things that really go all into it when you are learning something new. And I mean, it can switch places. I mean, experiential learning can come before and then theoretical learning, or theoretical learning can come before and then experiential learning. For example, we all know this famous speech by Steve Jobs, where in Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish, he mentioned about getting theoretical learning of how to do calligraphy, and how later, when he was designing the first iMac, it all came back to
Oh
him,
yes.
and he was doing that, using that calligraphy or the theory that he had studied in college to
Mhm.
design the fonts in that
Right.
Mac. So
Mhm.
it's pretty interesting. I think that both are important when you are doing it. Personally, for me, I like to take experiential learning as a primary thing,
Okay.
because if you are only studying about something and then you are not applying it, then it's probably a waste of your time, and you have not like honed your skill enough. If you are studying and then you, even if it is a small project where you are volunteering, or even if it is a project that you had to create of your own. I mean, if you have studied Android app development and if you haven't developed, then that, even if it is a small app, then I mean, after a particular time, you will forget about how to develop an app, and that skill won't be useful for you anymore. Of that, whatever you have studied or whatever theory that you have gained. So it's important that whatever you have studied, keep on applying that from time to time or from particular period of times, so that you, first of all, you are getting better at it, and second, that you don't forget it easily, because by the time you have practiced enough or you have invested enough time studying for it and practicing it, uh, I mean, there will be a time when you would first start enjoying, I mean, you will start to enjoy doing it, and you will be a master skill. So both of these things go hand in hand when it comes to experience and theory.
Absolutely, Chirag. So I was reading this book called Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I don't like a lot of some people say Naval, some same Naval, some call him Naval, but I'll go with Naval Ravikant. So it's called Almanac of
Yeah,
Naval Ravikant, and he was talking about this thing, like if you if you want to get into something, know the basics first. And with the basics, I mean the bilkul the root part of it. For example, like if you want to, let's say, learn, like I don't have to jump right into the, like the advanced part of economics. First need to know the basic part of it, like all the supply demand thing, microeconomics, macroeconomics, the law of diminishing returns, all of these, like the basic rules of economics. And same goes for mathematics. If I
exactly.
know the basics, I can, I can reach the advanced part myself even without the theory, right? And I think that's one of the tips on learning how to learn, right? uh and I believe, Chirag, because even I did that. I think when I was like doing something related to product development, I jumped right into the advanced part. And even when it comes to coding, you need to know the HTML and CSS and JavaScript and everything before you jump to Angular or React JS and all these things. Like I don't know a lot about coding, but I know
Exactly.
you need to know HTML and JavaScript and all of these stuff. So what's your, can you give a few tips on learning how to learn and how to develop that kind of mindset where like you're all in to learn whatever you're getting into? So how do you do that?
If you are studying about economics and you have gotten a job into being a huge economist with a nice company, and you don't
Hmm.
know what supply and demand is, then probably
Yeah.
people are going to look down upon yourself. I mean,
Right.
that was your job to study the theory first and know the basic concepts of what supply and demand is, and how the market works and how profit and loss works and how to calculate it and all these things. So I mean, learning how to learn is an interesting concept. And first of all, I would say there are particular steps that go behind it. I am definitely taking my example on it or my experience on it. There are people who have different ways, and that suits them on how they want to learn. I mean, this is not the foolproof plan that I'm giving them, but this is how probably you can go. First of all, you have to know the purpose of why you are learning something. I mean, if there's a goal that you want to achieve, and if there's a purpose that you want to achieve, then definitely that would be the motivating factor for you to learn a particular thing. For example, I am learning Mandarin right now, and I am learning that because one day I want to go and backpack in China for a month and just travel from different big cities to smaller towns and villages in China. And I won't be able to do that unless I know how to speak Mandarin and I know talk to the locals, because people in China are not very fluent in English, and I won't survive till the time I only know English. So that is the
Mhm.
purpose that I have behind learning Mandarin. After that purpose, I have to find out ways on how I can learn Mandarin. So definitely, after you have defined the purpose on what you want to learn or what you want to do, it is for you to find out that how you can learn that. I mean, these can be online platforms that where you can learn that. These can be some physical courses that you can take and learn that. These can be experts that you can talk to and learn that. And this is completely up to you how you want to do that. In my case, I could learn using the apps and websites that are there to learn a new language. I could learn it getting after getting enrolled myself into a physical course of learning Chinese, going for classes and doing that. Or I could talk to experts and talk to them on how to start with learning Mandarin and how to go about it, and then practice with them. So I chose the first one. I downloaded this app Duolingo, and I started practicing Mandarin every day. Now, third thing is practice. I would say being regular at it is something that is the most difficult part. But once you find out time of doing it, it would be the most easier part, and you are going to enjoy doing it and have fun while doing it. Uh, just take out 15, 20, 30 minutes or 1 hour, whatever time that you have during a day, and do it every day. Invest time in it, because if you have if you have read particular blogs of people and experts, they say like you have to invest about 10,000 hours into something if you want to be good at it. And if you are practicing every day, even if it is for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever time you have on your hand, and you are not using that rhythm of learning something new, I think at the end of the day or somewhere down the line, it is going to be fruitful for you. So for me, I practice for 15 to 30 minutes every day while learning Mandarin using that app that I have. And fourth thing that is there is to apply. And while applying for things, honestly, the experiential learning part comes again here. And now when you apply for things, if you are learning project management, then probably you can take volunteer opportunities or internships or work with some people who are experts at it, get some insights from them, and all these things. For my case, when I'm learning Chinese, then I'm doing these Zoom meetups that are there every month or every week. And then in these Zoom meetups, we talk and discuss about things. We practice the things that we have learned. And once we have practiced the things that we have learned, and once we have applied the things that we have learned, then this gives us additional momentum to learn something new. Now, when I look at some Chinese letters, even if I had studied it like way back 3 or 4 months ago, I know what this letter means, and I can form sentences now based on the basic roots that I have made strong by practicing every day and by applying the things that I have done. So learning how to learn is really difficult, I would say, but it comes at its own pace to people on what they want to do, why they want to do it, and how they want to do it. So definitely finding that why or the purpose is the most important thing that will keep you going every day while you are practicing, and that why will keep you motivated to apply that thing as well when you are talking to certain people or sharing your knowledge and all that.
Absolutely, Chirag. You know, something that you mentioned twice now is that it comes to you when you were telling about, you know, when you explore various courses, various fields, it just comes to you. And now again, you spoke about that, and I very much connect to that, especially when you're not chasing a purpose, but when you're moving towards a purpose. A lot of things they just automatically come to you. Uh, and about the 10,000 rule, I remember reading it from a book called Outliers. Uh, I still am very confused if, you know, if that's like I'm still confused ki if it really works, like, you know, do you really need to put in 10,000 hours to become an expert? But I believe you need to put a lot of, I don't know how did that person, I think it's by some Gladwell, I forgot his name, but then I'm just confused that, you know, if that number is just a number, or but the point is ki you need to, you know, stay at it and continuously do it over and over and over, and apply it in various things to make sure that you don't forget them. And Chirag, so you also talked about the volunteering part of, like, you know, if you just have to apply the skills that you are acquiring, right? So I want to ask you, like, what are the various ways that a person can acquire a skill and also apply this theoretical learnings that a person has had. And again, we have previously volunteered together for quality education. Now again we are volunteering together for another project. I've had a lot of learnings through these volunteering projects. So I want to know you, like, you know, are you aware of various sources that a person can first acquire skills, second also apply them?
Sure. I mean, first getting back on that 10,000 rule, I mean, we don't know if it actually works because we haven't actually spent 10,000 hours on doing anything.
Right.
If you will
Yes.
calculate 10,000 hours, then if you are spending 1 hour on that thing every day, then that would take you 27 years or 28
Hmm.
years or something like that. So we are not even that old. So we don't
Yeah.
know actually if a 10,000 hour rule work because we haven't actually spent that much of time doing that thing. If we will
Hmm.
probably do that thing for 1 hour every day for 27, 28 years, then definitely I would say that you will be good at it. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically you are spending doing that thing for 27, 28 years. And
Hmm.
I mean, if you're not doing, and if you're still not good at it, then probably you have been doing it wrong. That
No,
could be the
but what
only
I was
reason I
confused
can
about
think
is
of.
ki this
Yeah.
dynamic environment, like, skills become redundant very easily. So I was like, you know, I think this book is
Yeah.
from like 2009, 2010. But now, because the
Yeah.
dynamic, so for example, there was a time when big data was a like a big deal, right? But now, like, obviously the AI and machine learning and everything, it has a lot of concepts from big data, but a lot of part, I think, like, what this is from very limited knowledge, but I think a lot of part of big data has become very redundant. So it's just confused about this thing ki abhi in this dynamic environment, a lot of our skills, like, they don't even last 4 or 5 years, except the skills, like,
Definitely.
you know, the
Definitely.
overall communication skills or being compassionate or people skills. I think they are going to be there, but the technical part, no, I think, like, I'm just confused ki the things, if we put in 10,000 hours, would they be still relevant? So, like, that was my point, like my take on this. I was confused ki how is it going to, like, what's the way forward for this?
I mean, it's not like you are doing the same thing every day for 10,000 hours. You have to keep on
Hmm.
updating yourself with the new
Hmm.
trends and the new things that are coming along as well. I mean, things will change drastically if you will do
True.
something for 25 years. And you have to be at the top of that game. And that would only happen when you're practicing that thing, you are reading about it, and you're talking to people who are doing those things. You are getting insights from someone who has been working in that uh, skill or that area for say 40, 50 years, because they know what they have been doing, and they are actually there where you want to be after some point of your life. So you have to be at
True.
the top
True.
of that game. It's not like you will keep on doing that same thing for those 25, 27 years. And
And you also need to stay
once you
relevant.
are doing all these things, yeah, exactly, you have to be relevant. I mean, that's the most important point. If you are
Hmm.
probably studying right now how to make handwritten books, then sorry, you won't be able to be relevant after a few years,
Hmm.
because right now there are huge printing press that are
Right.
able to print large number of paperbacks in a short period of time. People are moving from paperbacks now to digital media, to Kindle and all these things. And if you are still studying about how to do handwritten books, then probably that's an art, and that might be used as an antique thing after a few years or even now. But that won't be something that is going to be relevant to the masses if you are looking at it that way. Yeah, if you are writing on the digital media, and if you are writing books online and publishing them on Amazon or Kindle or something like that, then that is probably that what's going to be relevant now in the coming years, rather than doing handwritten books. So you have to be at the top of the game when you are doing it. The first source that we learn from when it comes to values and the things to do, and not when we are a child, are our parents and the people who we
Hmm.
see around us. And then after moving from them, we learn things from our school and college, and then that is all about theoretical learning and some practical experiences. And then various sources that you can learn from now is definitely a lot of things. I mean, internet is a huge ocean
Hmm.
of
Right.
learning new things. I mean, there are multiple channels where you can learn. I mean, there's Coursera, there's LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, Udacity, and all these upcoming new softwares and apps as well, where you can learn new things. There are uh, sources like Skillshare where you can learn each and everything that you want. And the best source that you can find is definitely YouTube. You
Right.
have each and everything that you can do and learn on YouTube. You have experts giving interview on that thing. You have people giving lecture on that thing. You have people applying that particular thing that you want to learn on YouTube. Uh, Even if you don't have access to anything else, if you don't have access to internet, then the best thing that you can learn from is books. There are different books that you can learn from when you are approaching a particular thing. And if you are not able to have access to books as well, then you have access to experts and people. And if you don't have access to experts and people, then you can go and observe that thing. If you don't have access to even observing the thing that you are doing, then probably just think about it. Use your imagination about what are the different things
Hmm.
that you can do. I mean, our imagination has no bounds, and
Right.
you can probably learn new things while imagine. For example, when Einstein developed the theory of relativity, all he did was imagine a lot of stuff, studying it using a lot of methods that he had already known, and that's how he came up with the theory of relativity. I mean, imagination plays an important role when you are innovating a new thing. I mean, when you find a problem, then you use your imagination to solve it, and then you are able to come up with a new thing. So there are a lot of ways where you can learn a particular skill, or where you can learn a particular course or something. And this is something that you have to be agile about, and you have to be proactive when you are learning that particular thing. And when it comes to applying, if you get a job on the thing that you have learned, then definitely
Hmm.
it's the best way of applying the thing that you have learned recently.
Right.
In case you are not able to get a job, then probably getting an internship is the next best thing. I won't suggest getting
Hmm.
a free internship. I mean, at least get paid something for the hard work that you are putting it, even when you are applying and learning. But if you're not able to get a paid internship, then probably get a free internship. What matters here If you are getting a free internship, then don't just get it anywhere. I would really
Right.
suggest to if get it with someone who actually knows the thing that you want to learn and can actually mentor you. So if you want to learn about communications and if you are doing it at some XYZ company, then you might get to know the basics, but you won't be able to have a drastic exponential change in your learning curve over the 1 or 2 months or 6 months when you are doing that free internship. But
Mm-hmm.
if you are able to spend that 1 or 2 or 6 months with someone who is really at the top of your top of their game, if you are learning about communications from the best company that you can think for communications, or if you are learning about marketing from the companies that are known for their marketing and the people who are known from their marketing, like if you're studying marketing and if you are interning for marketing in a company like Coke, then that is something that will give you a drastic shift in what you are learning, and that is going to be helpful for you even further down the line. I mean, after, if you're not able to get a free internship as well, then probably call up your friends and volunteer that I
Mm-hmm.
want to do this thing,
Right.
and I want to learn more about it, and probably this is how we can do it. I have this idea and we can implement
Mm-hmm.
it, something like that. If you are not able to volunteer at it as well, then work on your own, because that is the
True.
thing that I can think of. Because if you are not able to volunteer after learning Android app development, then you can make your own apps and launch it uh, on Google Play Store or something like that, because that work that you have done is going to be the advocate of the skill that you have learned. And
Mm-hmm.
once you have these projects that you have done for yourself, and you can share it with the world out there, and probably somewhere down the line will call you up saying, we really liked your project, if you're really good
True.
at it,
True.
and why don't you come and work with us? I mean, we know all these YouTubers and creators and TikTokers, for example, who share with the world the skill that they have, and whatever they are good at, they are creating stuff and doing it. They are not sitting idle, because that is the worst thing that you can do to yourself after learning a particular skill. And that is going to be a waste of time after you have invested so many hours to sit idle and not do anything. Just keep your mind occupied, even if it is not Android app development, then probably keep your mind occupied with something in marketing. If it is not marketing,
Mm-hmm.
then probably keep your mind occupied with cooking. If it is not cooking, then probably keep your mind occupied and create content for dancing or something like that. I mean, you cannot be the person who only likes one thing. There are multiple things that we are interested towards. And if you are the person who only likes one thing, then try to find out the things or more things that you are interested towards, to have that kind of diverse background behind you and have that kind of diverse portfolio for yourself. You can be good at multiple, start applying those things when you are doing it. Honestly, when I started volunteering with you uh,
Mm-hmm.
for quality education, I had no idea of teaching or how to teach. But when I started doing that, it actually inspired me to study more about it on how to teach. I mean, my mother is a teacher, but I never thought of teaching someone something, and that gave
Mm-hmm.
me an inspiration to learn more about it. I went on and did my TESOL learning certification, which is teach English as a second language to people. And that hours, that 120 hours that I spent on learning TESOL, I mean, that was pretty eye-opening experience to me on how to manage a class, how to talk to your students, or what are the different ways in which you can teach your students and everything. Once you start doing it, start volunteering for it, and there are different ways where you can start doing things and then learn on the job. I mean, that is the classic case of experiential learning. I mean, volunteering or teaching with you.
Absolutely. So I had the same incident. I did not like I had some. experience with voluntarily teaching, but especially with the virtual teaching, I had no idea like how to manage a class and everything. And now if I reflect, the first class that I took and the last class that I took, it had a drastic change, because after the first class I understood what are the problems, what are the challenges that I'm facing, or I can probably face in the future. And then I researched about it. I had a friend who had a lot of experience in this. I texted her, I asked her, how can I do that? How to manage a class, how to make sure that, like they stay attentive and all of these things. And the last class that I took, like there was a drastic change. And Chirag, I was really enjoying when you were talking about, if you don't have social media, you have books. If you don't have books, you have people. If you don't have people, you can observe things around. If you don't have that as well, you can imagine things. And that's a very powerful example, because a lot of ideas, they come into reality after you start imagining. For example, now if I think that I want to ensure that the education reaches even in the remotest areas of India. Okay, that's my imagination. And then I'll start building the bridge between my idea and the reality. So all of these things, they start from imagination, and I think that's very, very powerful thing that you talked about. And like this is going to be one of my take backs from this podcast, I'm sure. I really enjoyed that thing. Anyway, Chirag, so you're also talking about, you can learn from your parents, and you also talked about the formal institutions, like you get a job in a corporate. So today I read a news that the FMCG company called Hindustan Unilever, they will upskill their employees by 2025, all of their employees, right? And then there are the formal, typical educational institutes of India. So I want to ask you, what role do they play, uh, like role they have been playing in the past, and how this 2020 and even the dynamic economy, the dynamic environment has changed the way they function, or they haven't changed but they should change with the reality of, because, so Chirag, this is how I see it. The formal education institute, like if you're doing a bachelor's, they should equip you with
Yeah.
skills enough, like you can transit into like not a corporate, like a you can get a job. They equip you with enough skills, but that's not been happening. You do a bachelor's, then you acquire skills,
Hmm.
and then you start a job, right? So I want to know, like, where are we lacking? Scene can Where do we go from here now? Like, what should be the way forward for these educational institutes in terms of developing skills? I'm talking about the typical schools and colleges of India, especially.
Definitely, most of the big ideas they come from imagination and what we have imagined stuff, and then only people start to work on it. Like you gave a very good example of imagining that education reached the remotest part of India, and then actually you start to build upon things. And that's how most of the startups have actually started and started to build upon themselves. Now, coming to the formal education and the education sector of India, that and how they have to upgrade themselves. I would say how the formal education sector has been focusing or working more on was the theoretical knowledge, and that's what we have all been talking about since ages when we were in school and colleges ourselves. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
we always used to discuss it among friends about how we are only doing theory and how we are not focusing enough on practical learning. I mean, my friends, we were all in 11th and 12th. We were what 15 or 16-year old, and
Hmm.
we used to give examples to each other, see how it is happening in the US, where
Yeah.
there are no uniforms and people can go to their schools in their home clothes or something like
Hmm.
that, and they always focus on practical learning and not much on theoretical learning. And this is something that we have been talking for years now here in India, but no one has actually been able to create a drastic change in it uh, as of yet. But recently, what we are seeing right now, because of the shift towards online learning and online learning
Hmm.
platforms, people have started opening up towards the practical ways of learning something new. uh, for example, this famous tagline that समझ आएगा तो मजा आएगा and मजा आएगा तो समझ आएगा, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something which can give you an example of how practical learning needs to be inculcated in tandem with whatever theory that we are doing. And for example, I look at these ads and I see my sister taking some online classes uh, on YouTube of these things, and these are some of the very creative ways that they make you understand how something works or why something works. I mean, I did it in my college as well. I mean, I was not able to understand most of the thing class, but later on when I came back home, or even during the exam time when I used to study from YouTube or online classes, these were the things that were explained in a way that you could understand it much easily. I won't say the formal education sector in India is a complete waste, because there are some skills that you learn from there as well, from that theoretical knowledge, that are important for you to learn. But how this needs to be changed is the inculcation of the practical methods of teaching, taking people out of class, not just keeping them in class for the entire year, and taking them out in open, and making them see how what they are learning is used in the practical world as well. And once people would be able to see what they are learning can be used in the practical world, then this is something that they will constantly think about. And once they are able to constantly think about uh, the practical application of the things that they are learning, or how it is going to work in the practical world, or how they can help uh, for it to work in the world out there. I mean, people won't have to focus more on reskilling people. For example, we all know that whenever someone is hired after these mass recruitments
Mm-hmm.
for companies which take like 350 to 400 people in
Right.
college placements, they actually reskill the students for the first 5 or 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
because they think that whatever college education was, they were not able to teach enough, and we have to do that again and again. But if we are able to make people see that practical application in college itself, then companies won't have to do it again and again for the first 6 months, and take another test after that 6 months, so that people can be good at what they are doing, or people can know actually what they are supposed to do. For example, I know some people who are working in these companies who have mass recruited, and now they are working in something which they don't even enjoy. I mean, they were the people who really like doing engineering, but after six
Mm-hmm.
months of training, now they are actually doing something which the company told them to do, but they don't actually enjoy doing it. And after that 2 or 3 years, there's a phase of burnout that comes.
Yeah.
Then the person
Right.
actually goes back learning new skills that they actually enjoy doing, or they just leave the company. So these are the things that companies face as well. But seeing how formal education needs to change, that is the only way that I can think of. I mean, for me, I come from an engineering background, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not doing anything related to engineering. I'm doing marketing right now and communications. But I won't say that I didn't learn anything from a formal engineering degree. That was the thing that made me comfortable to data, and that made me comfortable to Excel sheets, that made me comfortable with analyzing a lot of stuff, that made me a bit solution oriented from the background that I come from, and from whatever that I have studied in college. So you have to actually look at the brighter side and change your perspective, and gain skills that are actually going to be helpful from your formal education to apply that later in life when you actually get a chance to do that. I have this mentor, and
Mhm.
he gave me an example a few years ago that why this combination of engineering plus MBA is such a hit, because
Mhm.
everyone is doing that. After
I call it
engineering, they
a
go for
deadly
MBA,
combo.
and then exactly, exactly, and after MBA, they go for a marketing job or something like that. That is because in engineering, you learn these particular skills of analysis and all the things that you can that prepares you to work in a big organization. And
I
then
think
in
problem
MBA,
solving
you
as well.
learn, yeah, problem solving as well, exactly. And then later in MBA, you learn how to work in an organization, or
Mhm.
how to deal with people, or what are the different things that you can communicate with, and all the things that you can think of, and then you actually apply that stuff. So that is why it is a deadly combo, because you are able to learn the skills with sheets and Excel and everything in your engineering, and later on you are learning how to deal with people in your MBA. And that's why this combo has been such a hit in India specifically, because I mean, in class you actually don't learn how to deal with people unless you are social enough, and then later in MBA you actually get to know these things. I mean, you can either do an MBA, or you can work for 2 3 years first and know these things.
True, true.
Mhm.
Anyway, Chirag, this was about the conventional ways of learning. And I think so when you're talking about the sheets and the things that people learn in in a technical background in BTech and everything, a lot of people don't like consciously realize the underlying skills that they acquire. For example, in coding, you understand how to approach a problem, you understand how to go about it, you understand how to solve that eventually, right? About uh, Google Sheets or Excel, it teaches you how to automate things and save time and do things and do better things, or it teaches you to do analysis and forecast financials, blah blah, all of these things. Anyway, Chirag, this is about the conventional ways of learning. So I've asked two questions for you, and that's about the unconventional ways of learning. And that's one thing that I know that you absolutely love is traveling, because I've seen your pictures. Um, Today only you posted a picture of Hong Kong about the Chinese New Year, and so I just want to know, Chirag, what's been your top learnings from traveling? And the second question is, what is the mindset that like with which you travel, like whenever you start your travel, what's that mindset that you go with, and how do you go about, like if you're, let's say, if you're backpacking through a country, meeting locals, and I'm sure you must have done that. So I just want to know what kind of mindset do you approach this traveling thing, and what's been your top learnings from that.
Definitely. I mean, getting back to the problem solving part, you just reminded me of my
Mhm.
computer science teacher in high school, where people used to just remember all the code that they had to do for a particular question. But my computer science teacher always told us that don't remember the code. You're not going to learn anything by just remembering the code.
Mhm.
See the problem first, how you are going to solve that problem, and see the algorithm that you can apply to solve that problem, because there are multiple ways to solve that problem through different algorithms. But you are
Absolutely.
not going to learn something new unless you are just learning that code and applying that code everywhere while solving a particular type of problem. So that was a pretty interesting learning that I got from my teacher early on, which is to don't just see one way to solve a problem, but you can actually look at multiple ways to solve a problem by looking at the problem first and then thinking of the solution later. I mean, getting back to traveling, I mean, this was not something that I had seen myself doing. If I can think of like 6 years before or 10 years before, I had not gotten out of India until 2017. I mean, 2017 was the first year when I actually went out of India to a new
Mhm.
country. I had my passport for 5 years and it was completely blank until then.
Right.
And then I got a chance to go out of the country and serve as the head of corporate relations and business development for the youth NGO that both of us were working with at that time, ISEC.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
went to South Africa at that time. Yeah. And I had the chance. So I was in my last semester of my engineering degree. So I had the chance of just staying in India and taking the two offers that I got from the mass recruiting corporations that we were talking of earlier,
Yeah.
or go out of India and explore something new. And obviously, I thought that I will be able to learn something that new if I just stay here in India and take this job, which some 400 people from my college are doing right now. But what no one is doing in my college is going out of the country and leading the business development and corporate relations vertical or of a youth NGO. So that is something that inspired me to go out of my country and go out of my comfort zone to a new place. But after some time, I came back to India and I took a job here. Now, one thing that I highly regret not doing in South Africa was to go around and travel in South Africa, because my job was based out of Johannesburg, and because we were
Mhm.
living on a budget at that time, so I didn't get a chance to actually go out of Johannesburg much and travel inside South Africa. So that has been the regret that I have until now. Probably I'll go back to South Africa once more later in some part of my life and
Mhm.
travel the entire country or the entire sub-Saharan Africa region. And this is something that I didn't want to do when I was going to Philippines again when I got a chance to do an internship with a development bank. Now, for the first 6 7 months, I was much more traveling into Philippines and traveling to different parts of Philippines and
Mhm.
just exploring whenever I got a chance on the weekends or somewhere. But later, with my colleagues and everyone, sometimes we made plan to go to a particular neighboring country, but then we cancel it. But this time we actually thought of going to a country. Now, there's a very small nation in the world. It's called Brunei, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that we thought of going to Brunei, like one of my friends and I were going, so both of us were traveling together, and I mean, now we are here in Southeast Asia, and the tickets from Philippines to Brunei are very cheap. If
Okay.
we don't take this chance now, uh, probably we won't ever come to Southeast Asia just to go to this small country called
Mhm.
Brunei. So it
True.
is now or never to just go to a particular country and explore it. So that's when I actually opened, that's when something happened that actually opened my mind towards traveling. So that was October 2019 that I went on went to a particular country just for travel and not work or not for anything else. And I highly enjoyed it. I mean, going to a particular place, seeing seeing new things, uh, enjoying the food that is there, and meeting new people, and all the things that we can do. And I mean, that was the trip that I took with my friends. That was for 3 days. We came back, but immediately after coming back, I had this sense to do more. And I thought, if I can't go with my friends on my next trip, probably I should travel solo. And that's when it actually started. So I tried to find out long weekends or where I can combine some of my offs from office with weekend and all these things and find this gap of 6 or 7 or 10 days where I can go
Mhm.
and travel to different countries. And then I started going around in Southeast Asia because, first of all the tickets were very cheap that I really liked, and you could enjoy with doing so much more uh, when you are traveling to a particular country. And with this experience that we had in ISEC,
Mhm.
we now have a friend in probably all the countries in the world.
Yeah,
Whenever
every
wherever we'll
country.
go, we'll meet someone, and yeah, we can hang out with someone who's there. So I actually used to text one of my friends who is there in that country, and I told them, I see, this is what I'm planning to do. What would you suggest? Like, how many days should I stay, or what are the places that I can go and see, and how can I do that? And they used to give me insights. This is the time when you should come, or this is what you should do, and this is something you should be prepared about, and everything. So that entire experience that really opened me up. I mean, it came to a point when I started to realize whenever you land in a particular country, there's a simple aroma. There's a distinct aroma that you can
Hmm.
feel when you are there. The
Yeah,
color of the
yeah.
sky is different, the clouds are different, and that the vibe of the place is different. And you learn new things from different people. I mean, the culture of each and every place is different. uh, how people eat is different, what they eat is different, uh, the utensils they use is different, and how they stay is different. I mean, each place has its own rules. They have a particular way that they greet, they have a particular way that they say goodbye,
Right.
they have a particular way that they hang out, and all these things. I mean, it has a very good feel to it when you are able to call yourself a world citizen, and when you are able
Mhm.
to go and feel these new places of the world. And I mean, I had a lot more plans to travel, but then definitely COVID came into picture, and I had to cancel
Yeah.
all these things. And now I'm back at home for some time. But definitely, once I'll get a chance, then I'll go back again and learn from the people who are there. Because I mean, what particularly traveling has taught me is being more empathetic towards people, and being more kind towards people, and how we are just a small speck of uh, sand in this entire world that we are living in. The world is much bigger than us, and the world is
Mhm.
much bigger than the problems that we have.
Yeah, it's
uh,
very humbling, I
so
guess.
we exactly, it opens up to a whole new experience that we have.
Yeah. So, when you're speaking about your time in Johannesburg, very similar thing happened to me when I was in Kathmandu. So we were also on a like very tight budget, so I did not get to travel a lot in Nepal. But then I had a lot of plans, and all of them got cancelled because of COVID. I had plans of going to Vietnam after my term in Nepal. That got cancelled as well. And so I was doing this year compass, and I know that you have done that as well. And it has
Yep.
this one thing that what are the plans that could not happen. So I was doing the extended version that had COVID thing as well. So in that I was reflecting all of these things, that I had plans of trekking in Nepal. I had plans of going to Vietnam, going to Singapore after the term, and a lot of other plans. All of them got cancelled. But then again, like you want to go back to Johannesburg. I also want to go back to Kathmandu. Want to go back to Nepal and travel, and know more stories of people, understand various cultures. Because Nepal, although it's a small country, it has very like different cultures, right? And Chirag, so I've not traveled very extensively, but I worked with a lot of people from very different countries. And one thing that thing has taught me working with a diverse group of people is how to be inclusive. So that's one of my biggest learnings that I've had,
Exactly.
because I got to work with a lot of people. I'll give you an example, and like this is a corporate example that I'm giving. Just giving holidays during Christmas, right? That's a good thing that you're giving holidays during Christmas. But then if you have a very diverse group of people, there may be people who may not celebrate Christmas at all, who may have various different religious beliefs, who may have different festivals, right? So let's say I'm going to a country that where a lot of people celebrate Christmas and they are giving holidays during Christmas, but they're not giving
Yep.
holidays during Diwali, right? So you see this, like it's not very inclusive, right? So like, just this is just an observation that I had, because when I was in Nepal, I had in my team people from Vietnam, Sri Lanka,
Hmm.
Indonesia, India, and then people from Nepal as well. And this is when it hit me. So few of my members wanted holidays during Chinese New Year. Few of my members
Yeah.
wanted holidays during the Dussehra. So it's a festival in India. The Dussehra, it's called Dashain in Nepal. And then during few of them
Yes.
wanted holidays during Diwali. So all these things, like it taught me how to be more inclusive. And another example, well, when I was part of Ice Cream Chandigarh, one of my EB members was from Thailand, right? One of my best friends, his name is Pan. And then
Hmm.
because our upbringing and conditioning was such that we used to speak Hindi, or like majorly Hindi, and but then because he was a part of our team, we consciously made sure that we should not talk in Hindi. We should talk in English because that's the common language each one of us understood. So that's what, like,
Exactly.
again, I have not traveled very extensively, but I believe that's one of the things that traveling teaches you, or meeting diverse people teaches you, being more inclusive, being more compassionate, understanding that your reality would may be very different than the other person's reality. So it's been a very eye-opening experience meeting diverse people. And Chirag, I hope you get to travel after this COVID thing, and I hope your next destination in India is Chandigarh. I hope you come to meet me, and after that, one of your next destinations gets to be Nepal, because like I recommend going to Nepal to everyone. I really love the country.
Actually, that was one of my plans as well, because after I was finishing my experience in March in the Philippines, I
Yeah.
had this plan of going to China, travel there for a month, and then
Hmm.
from China go to Nepal, travel there, and
Yeah.
from Nepal come back to India. So that was actually the plan that I had, but I had to scrap that plan
Yeah.
for uh, for some indefinite point as of now. But I'm thinking of doing the reverse now. I can go to Nepal first for the first 2 weeks, and then from there
Mhm.
go to China for a month whenever I'm traveling next.
Even I'm planning to go back to Nepal in March or April. I don't know when I'll get the time, but probably like before, like in the first 6 months of this year, probably I'll go to Nepal. I'm planning to do that.
Mhm.
Not sure.
I mean, first, I mean, Chandigarh is a frequent place that I visit.
Mhm.
I told you about it, and
Yeah.
definitely whenever I'm next in Chandigarh, I'll hit you up, and we can definitely get a coffee and hang out. And I would love to do that. And even if, I mean, talking about the tea as well, I mean, one of the things that I learned when traveling countries is to just learn the basic ways that these people say hello, or these people say you're welcome or
Yes.
thank you, some things like that. And if you are not able to do that, probably just download Google Translate on your phone. I probably had the best of the conversations using Google Translate. I mean, I knew how to say hello and goodbye in Vietnamese, but I didn't know how to do extended conversations. So I was on this 1 hour bus journey from Da Nang that is the place in the middle of
Yeah, to
Vietnam, to
Hue, Hue,
Hue.
right? Yeah, I
Yes,
know.
exactly.
When you were telling,
Which is
I
one of the
thought
most
the
beautiful.
1 hour journey is from Da Nang to Hue, or from Hanoi
Yeah,
to, I forgot the island, like Hanoi to, there's some like 2 hours
Cat Ba.
journey. Not
Yeah, there's
Katpa.
Halong Bay and
Ha
Cat
Long
Ba,
Bay,
which
yes, yes,
that
yes,
is
Ha Long Bay, yeah.
yes, yeah. So Cat Ba is actually in Halong Bay. It's right next to it,
Oh, I
and
did not know that.
yes, yes. I would definitely suggest you going to Katba because that is more beautiful and quaint than Halong Bay. And
Hmm.
from Katba, you can actually, when you're traveling, you can take this entire day tour of Halong Bay as well from Katba itself. So whenever you're traveling next, just let me know. I can tell you some things about Vietnam. So
I feel Vietnam is
when I was
very
going,
like you cannot miss Hanoi, and you cannot also miss Ho Chi Minh City, and you cannot also miss the like the central part, Da Nang and everything. Like it's like, if you really want to know
exactly.
Vietnam, you need to travel north, south, and central, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I did Vietnam, I traveled only. I did this thing where I was from Ho Chi Minh to Da Nang and from Da Nang to Hanoi,
Hmm.
and I was for 1.5 day in Ho Chi Minh City, for 3 days in Da Nang, and for 3 days in Hanoi, and that was pretty nice. But I would actually like to go back for a month or so in Vietnam
Hmm.
and travel on a scooter.
Yeah,
There
that was
are a
my
lot of ways. Yeah, there are a
like.
lot of things that you I have been missing out, and I want to go to those places. Like there's a very nice hill station that is called Sapa in north of
Okay.
Hanoi, and yeah, from Sapa you can actually go to the Vietnam and China border. I mean, you can be at a place uh, where this is Vietnam and China border, and there's no one there. I mean, if you will take one step, you will be in China. So there are
Oh,
these places
nice.
in Vietnam that you definitely have to go to whenever you're there next.
Yeah, and
So
Chirag, you were
I
telling
mean,
about
going
a
back to the
story. Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So when I was going from Da Nang to Hue, I mean, it was a 1.5 hour bus journey, and there was this person who was sitting right next to me,
Hmm.
and we didn't know how to communicate in each other's language, but both of us had Google Translate on our phone.
Hmm.
So I was writing things in English, translated to Vietnamese, and then she was replying back in Vietnamese, and it was translating to English. And probably that was one of the best conversations that I had while traveling. Yeah, even though I didn't know the language, but I mean, we were able to communicate, and I mean, that part of inclusivity actually comes in picture when you have to be open towards sharing or finding ways of how to communicate instead of just sitting in your seat and doing nothing, because that would not have been any good on that 1.5 hour boring journey. I mean, I actually got to learn something new when I was there about what are the places that I can see, or what are the things that I can expect while talking to locals. Just from that thing of being inclusive and sharing our languages and everything.
Right. Chirag, it's been a very refreshing conversation. It also, like, I told you the one of the take backs that I have, but also the last part of this, it's been like a lot of memories came back to me, and like it was a very refreshing conversation. So first of all, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Chirag, and I really look forward to meeting you. And do you have a signing off note for anyone who's listening?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Manik, for inviting me to your podcast. I am really honored to be here, and it was my pleasure sharing some of my experiences and ideas with you. I can definitely say that you are doing such a good thing by sharing these ideas that inspire you to the world out there, and the things that you believe in. Because what is the best thing that we can do while in this restrictions that we have is to learn from each other, and learning, keeping learning at the center of everything, and keeping learning as the key to unlock different locks. I mean, this is a philosophy that we can go by whenever we are approaching something new, whenever we are meeting someone new, or whenever we are approaching uh, an expert. I mean, this actually gives you a humbling experience as well whenever
Mm,
you approach someone through the mindset of learning and not just the mindset of sharing that you know it all and you don't want to learn anything new and everything. But when you will approach someone with the mindset of learning, then people are actually going to be more open to you, and they are actually going to be more open in the conversations that you are having, and they would actually like to talk more to you instead of avoiding you whenever they will see you next.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Chirag, and take care. Goodbye.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Manik. Take care.